Reminder that our session is being recorded, and Marcy just started our recording. We always like to thank our Board of Education members for their unwavering leadership as it relates to our department and the work that we do. And we also appreciate Superintendent House II as our superintendent and the work that he's doing for our district. The first update we did want to share is the special education welcome back to school town hall questions. I wanted to let everyone know that we did receive, I think I shared that data point with you all back at the last Secac meeting, that we received over 250 questions as part of our welcome back to town hall in August. 111 or 112 of those questions are included in the welcome back town hall question and answer. The link is available on this slide. You'll get that when you get the PowerPoint. We appreciate everyone's patience. We had to definitely follow up with several different offices because some of the questions were not specific to special education, but we might have had to follow up with student services around 504 services. Food and nutrition was another office we had to follow up with, the Department of Human Resources, school health, and other offices. So thanks for your patience. We will be translating the town hall document into Spanish and French. That is forthcoming. The document is with our translation office, and as soon as the document is translated, it will be provided to on our website so that our Spanish-speaking and French-speaking families can have access to it. But again, thanks for everyone's patience as we worked diligently to follow up on those questions. The other half of the questions, based on the questions that were asked for families, really required a specific follow-up from a special ed representative. And so those members of my team, as well as me, have followed up specifically with those parents to address those specific questions. Some went back directly as an email, and some we had to do further probing and do a follow-up call. So I did want to provide you with that update. On the next slide, we just wanted to share with you that we're continuing, I think this is year 4, with our behavior changes. A virtual support group for our families has definitely been well received over the years, and we have committed to continuing that this year, which is led by Yvonne and Naeem, one of our school psychologists. So we just appreciate the work that they do for our families. The QR code is here on the page if you would like to register for any upcoming sessions. The next one is occurring this week on November 21st, and those support sessions run through Thursday, June 12th. The next piece of information we wanted to share with you is our family support book study that our Family Support Center is hosting a 10 series around parent engagement in the individualized education program meeting process. The meeting will be held both synchronously and then asynchronously, meaning on your own. And so you can see the dates that are included here. Marcy just also put the information in the chat. If anyone is interested in participating in the actual book study, we will provide you with all materials. And there is an interest survey or the QR code that you can complete, and you can see the topics and the dates here on the screen. Just wanted to remind everyone of our upcoming town hall meeting that will be on January 28th. That would be our second town hall meeting. And then on February 25th, Secac will be doing schools transitions and resources for school transitions. We'll have our third parent town hall meeting on March 25th, followed by autism and mental health awareness on April 22nd. And then our last and final town hall meeting will be on May 27th. We also wanted you to know that we are from December 5th through December 9th in Maryland, we will be celebrating National Inclusive Schools Week, just really raising awareness and highlighting the importance of meaningful inclusion for students with disabilities. As you know, special ed is our equity focus this year in Prince George's County Public Schools. And throughout every week, we're doing what we call Equity in a Minute to really give schools and central offices either a fact about special education or encouraging them to think about or challenging them to do something creative or innovative or inclusive around students with disabilities. So we will be sharing this. This will be going out to all of our schools within the next week to gear up to celebrate diversity, celebratory activities. In the actual link, once you get the PowerPoint, you'll be able to see a variety of diversity materials that schools can use to really heighten the awareness of students with disabilities and really working to be inclusive of all of our students. So we're happy to join the ARC and the Maryland State Department of Education and other partners, both in Maryland and throughout the country, as we celebrate our inclusion of our students. The other thing I wanted to share with you all is the Disabilities Issues Advisory Board is now operational. The first meeting was held on November 6th. Janie Payne is our Secac representative. And then I also attend as a representative from the Department of Special Education. The Disability Issues Advisory Board shall annually report to the Board of Education the following information and issues related to the implementation of board policies regarding access for individuals with disabilities throughout all of our schools and facilities throughout the district. They also will provide updates around proposed new school construction and employment and hiring issues. I have provided a link to the board policy 1700 that provides more information about the Disabilities Issues Advisory Board, but I do want you to know that we are fully operational. And we had our first meeting on November 6th. So more information will be forthcoming as the committee continues to meet and determines what those next steps may be or recommendations back to Prince George's County Public Schools. I just wanted to remind everyone of our resolution team contact list that includes not only special education team members, but team members that are frequently called in other offices such as school boundaries or pupil accounting, transportation, health services, et cetera. So I just wanted to make sure that you have access to the resolution contact list. Marcy will put that in the chat again so that you can have access. And then again, I just encourage everyone to stay informed with all of our community events, conferences, resource fairs, workshops that may be forthcoming. To make sure that you sign up for the listserv, and that's where we actually push information out around upcoming events, community events that are happening throughout the school year. Thank you, Marcy, for placing that in the chat. And then again, just to reiterate, this year we did create a link or a QR code for families if they have specific individual concerns that they want to address. We are tracking that information to make sure that we are tracking those issues to resolution. And so if you have an individual concern that you do want to discuss with the Family Support Center, if other individuals need to be brought in to the case to review it and determine next steps, the Family Support Center will reach out to those appropriate offices. But I just wanted to remind everyone, if you have a specific concern that you want to address, you can fill out the link here or the QR code, and Marcy did just put it in the chat for everyone. And those concludes our updates for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janelle, for those updates. We really appreciate it. I want to now move us to our guest speaker, and so pleased that we have Marlo Lemon, who is the Co-Deputy Director of Training and Strategic Partnerships at the Parents Place of Maryland. As a certified teacher and mentor, she has taught in elementary school and she also worked as a professional development facilitator in Baltimore and Howard County. Currently, she's an adjunct professor at Towson State University. Marlo is the mother of children with IEPs, and she strongly believes in making connections, empowering families, and being able to share valuable resources with other families, which leads to improved success for all of our children. So without further ado, Marlo, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the Secac in Prince George's County and the administration and Trinell and everyone for the invitation. I really appreciate it. It's good to see so many of you. And for the parents that are on the call, I just did another presentation in Prince George's County, and the Family Support Office website is really a wealth of information. I used a lot of that information for the presentation that I had to do. So thank you very much for the introduction and the invitation, Janie. I'm going to share my screen. Please forgive me if you can hear. I am battling a cold, so I apologize for the scratchy voice ahead of time. But I thank each and every one of you that has signed up to be here this evening, just to learn more and to review. I think no matter how much the IEP process, sometimes it seems overwhelming, and sometimes it's good for everyone just to hear about the process and the meeting and how things should flow. So thank you, Janie, for my introduction.
Is that some other than
I am Co-Deputy Director of Training at the Parents Place of Maryland. We are Maryland's Parent and Training Health Information Center. So my objectives with you this evening is just to share some information about the Parents Place of Maryland, to review some IEP basics, and then to share some before, during, and after meeting strategies, and to discuss parent roles and some meeting strategies as well. Our mission at PPMD is to empower families. And we're often asked, do you attend IEP meetings with us? No, we do not. We are a small but mighty group that serve the state of Maryland. So from Allegheny County down to Ocean City. So I'll call us a small and mighty group. And we also believe that the parents are the longest standing people at the IEP table. So our job is to empower you as advocates to improve the education, health outcomes for children with disabilities and special healthcare needs. And we are committed to diversity and equity. So it's good to hear your focus in Prince George's County being special education and inclusion. We have been around for over 30 years. We are a free service to parents and families. So we do not charge for our services. As a nonprofit, our board of directors all have children with disabilities and special healthcare needs, and the staff, for the most part, all have children with disabilities or special family members. So when parents and families call us, we can really say we understand, or, we know some of the things that you might be feeling and going through while we're providing that assistance to parents and families for free. We provide one-on-one assistance. So we have a wealth of information and people who have a lot of years of experience in the special education process. You can, if you call in, email, on our website, we have an online help request that you can fill out. We also have parent educators that are able to assist parents and families in Spanish and Haitian Creole. So those are the things that we offer. You could send us in a copy of the IEP ahead of time, and we can review it with you. Because again, we don't go to the meetings with you, but we can equip you and empower you to really feel empowered as you're going into your young person's or your child's meetings. We share resources. Our website has a wealth of information and fact sheets, and we really try to take the law and the IEP and certain terms and terminology and put it in one spot that's easy for parents and families to understand. We have topical trainings on actually coming up. We have someone coming from DOORS, Division of Rehabilitation Services, People on the Go, DDA, self-care. So we have a lot of topical trainings. We also have leadership training classes where you can come in and really talk about transition, whether it's transition from infants and toddlers into the school system or transition at 18 and 21. Maryland is also the 8th largest state as far as military is concerned. So we have a staff member that specializes in military families. They have unique needs because it could be one parent that's deployed, two parents that's deployed. So they have some unique needs as it relates to having a child or young person with a disability or special healthcare needs. We help parents and families understand their child's diagnosis, communicate effectively with the school system. Sometimes we get parents say, I don't know how to ask for an IEP meeting. Well, guess what? We have sample templates on our website where only thing you have to do is fill in your information, understand parents' rights and roles in the special education process, connect with local school system personnel and community resources. If for some reason you're on the call and you have a family member that lives in West Virginia or lives in California, and you're like, you know what, PPMD is a great service. I have a family member and they might need services in another state. This is the website. It's Parent Center Hub, and they can find their parent center. We are federally funded, and parent centers are in all states. And it's 2 in Texas, 2 in Florida, I think 2 in California. So parents and families of children with disabilities can definitely get the help they need. This is my why, and I need to update this picture, but for all the parents and families that are out there, I am a mother and I'm a mother first. And when I go into the IEP meeting, no matter what I might think I know, when I go in, I am the mom of Joshua, Matthew, and Victoria. And this is why I do what I do. I have learned so much just by going through this journey with other parents and families. The young man to my right, the tallest of my twins, today is their birthday. So today my young men turned 20, which I cannot believe. And my daughter will be 19 in 2 months. So they are only 17 months apart. They started in infants and toddlers, my twin boys. They started infants and toddlers when they were 17 months old. So I had 3 under 3, going to different groups and therapies and programs, and it has been a journey ever since. So we started in early intervention. Matthew, the tallest of the twins, has autism. He's significantly impacted, nonverbal, intellectually limited, and he's the happiest nonverbal child I know. His twin brother, Josh, so Matthew will be in school till he's 21. So right now we are definitely learning any and everything we can about transition. And his twin brother, Joshua, is making his way. He's in his 2nd year in college. With supports, and every day it's a challenge, but it's a good one. So and again, we started at 17 months. I feel like we started and tried and have done so much. And my other son Joshua has dyslexia and ADD, and we're trying to make it work. So for those of you that are out there who can't see a way out, it definitely, not being here, attending a Secacs, knowledge is power. So now, what does the law say about IEP? And what I want to preference is the law is the law. It's a federal law. So if you're in Maryland, Pennsylvania, under IDEA, and this is a quote from the law that I like to highlight, ensures that all children with disabilities have available to them FAPE, which is a free and appropriate public education. We like to highlight the word unique and put it in bold and all caps, because my 2 young men, your children, all their IEPs should look different. Goals should be different for them because it's about the unique needs of your child to help prepare for post-secondary education, employment, and independent living. Parents Place of Maryland works with families birth to 26. So that post-secondary, talking to parents and families about, okay, what can we put in, what transition goals can we put on the IEP that will help with post-secondary? What do we need to do to help your child get some assistance as they're in college? Because as they get older, They are the one that's been advocating for themselves. How can we help now in school with employment and independent living? So it is in the law, it's in IDEA. In Maryland, it's called COMA, the Code of Maryland Federal Regulations. So an IEP, Individualized Education Program, is a written statement for a child with a disability that is developed, reviewed, and revised. And CFR just stands for Code of Federal Regulations, and it's 300.22. So it is in the law that in order to provide those unique, specialized instruction, they have to have an IEP written. Some people often ask, well, what's the difference in the IEP and my child has a 504 and I don't quite understand, the two. The 504 is Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. It provided rights to students with disabilities that are enforced by the Office of Civil Rights. The next slide will show just a comparison of the two. So when you look at the 504, there is no funding behind the 504. There is federal and state funding behind the IEP, which is IDEA. The chart, it explains the differences between the two. We have fact sheets on the 504 and the IEP. I want to highlight that the eligibility for the IEP is more strict than for Section 504. So to be eligible for an IEP, the student must require specialized instruction. So in order to be eligible for IEP, the student, to the IDEA on the chart, the student must require specialized instruction. The Office of Civil Rights enforces the 504, and the state education agency, which in Maryland is MSDE, or Maryland State Department of Education, enforces compliance and IDEA with regard to the individual students. Evaluations for IEP, for a 504 can be periodic. With the IEP, it's annual. Every year you should have an IEP meeting, and every 3 years a triennial where we're looking at assessments and updated data. As parents and families on this call, you are highly qualified. You know your child best. Sometimes we can get intimidated. We walk into a room and there's a lot of professionals that are sitting around the table. And, a lot of the professionals might have a lot of different letters behind their name, but we always like to say you're MOM, DAD, grandparent. You are that child's adult. And the law gives you this right to be a part of that IEP meeting. You have the long-term, in-depth relationship with the child to know what makes them tick. You are the only permanent member of the special education team. We know that things are changing rapidly every day. Schools change, administration changes, people change, but you are the permanent person, a permanent member of that team. And research does show that when you are involved in a special education process, children or young people are definitely more successful. As the parent, it's written into the law that it entitles you to be a member of that team, not to just sit and get information, but to ask the questions, to go over the revisions, to get the assessment, and to actively participate in the meeting. If you cannot attend, the school should provide other ways. Since COVID, I think we are all doing virtual conference calls, but you have a right to be an active member in that IEP team process. Parents may request an IEP meeting. We had a call and a parent was like, she was getting frustrated. She had a list of concerns. And I said, okay, well, you have a substantial list, then, why don't you go ahead? And she was like, well, I'm waiting for his annual. And I was like, well, you don't have to wait for an annual. If you have, that long a list of concerns, you can request an IEP meeting in writing to the school. So I just wanted to, point that out. I did not say in the beginning, since this is being recorded, what we're going to do is I'll go through the presentation, and then at the end, we can ask questions. So that way, your level of privacy with your young person, if you have a specific question to ask. Parents are encouraged to share your concerns at the IEP meeting. It's a collaborative process. You are important members of the IEP team and the only permanent member of the IEP team. Schools are required to have the IEP meeting at least once a year, and it can be more frequent. Evaluations are required every 3 years. However, they may be done before then. You're at parent request. IEPs are more about academics. So I know sometimes we get questions about social, emotional, and behavior. We can have an IEP meeting about that. Let's look at the data. All needs that a child has in the school environment can be included within the IEP. I am a quote person, so this is just one failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So again, as an active member of that IEP team, see it as a business meeting. And the product of that business meeting is your young person or your child. What parents need to know, it is an individualized education plan. Your young person, your child is receiving specialized instruction, and you want to know what that specialized instruction might look like. These are the required components of an IEP. IEP documents themselves can be so many different pages and levels depending upon the individual needs of your child or your young person. Matthew's IEP, for example, is 79 pages. But Joshua, who did not require as much, it looked different. His needs were different. So even if you are on the call and you have a couple of young people or children with IEPs, it should be individualized to meet their unique needs. These are the present levels, and that's on my next slide. But present levels is the foundation of the IEP. We can't write goals and know where we're going if we don't know where we're starting. Annual goals. So every year at the IEP meeting, are the goals being met? This is report card time, end of the first quarter. So as we have report cards coming in, are they making progress? Are they making progress so much so that now it's time to call for an IEP meeting to update the goals? Are they measurable? Are they SMART goals? Are they measurable? What does the data look like that's being collected? Talks about related services. Does your child have speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, behavior therapy and modifications? Is a BIP, behavior intervention plan, included? So all of these things are in the IEP, which is a legal document talking about specialized instruction for your child. What are supplementary aids and services that are needed? Does your child get bus services? If your child is on the bus, does the child have a harness? All of those things are written in. Does your child require an aid, a one-on-one assistance, wheelchair bound? Whatever your child or your young person needs is in the document. And then how does it look? Is it 100% inclusion? Will some of the services be pulled out? Is it small group? What all of those things should be in the IEP document, written in a way for parents and families to understand. And if not, feel free to ask the team questions as to the why. Transition planning, as your transition in Maryland starts at age 14. Federally, the federal law, it starts at age 16. And we say transition planning, that's moving from service, basically moving from out of high school into adult services. So how can the school system prepare some of our young people for transition? I always say it's the 2 E's. As long as your child or young person is in school, they are entitled to services. As they transition into adult services, they are moving from entitlement to eligibility. Everything in the adult services world, everyone won't necessarily qualify for every service. So all of these things are in that IEP document. So it can be mammoth, and it can be a lot of information. I said we start with the PLAF, as people might, as you know, there are a lot of different acronyms in education, but PLAF is present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. So it's the foundation of the IEP. If as a parent, you feel like there's a concern with your child or young person, you want to know where they're starting, because, you know, if the IEP just happens to be in April, so from April to April, okay, what have we done within the year? Looking at the goals, what does that look like in the classroom? What type of data are we collecting? And what does that look like? We hope to see progress. And if we're not, then we need to change the goals, not modify them to go lower, but what are we doing so that we can see if our young person is making progress based on what's going on in the classroom? It drives the remainder of the IEP. This is where we begin. You receive a letter that looks similar to this, and basically it's an invitation to attend the IEP meeting. At this meeting, it's a great opportunity for everyone to see, why are we meeting? So it, of course, has the date, the time, the purpose of the meeting. Is it to review existing information that's already there? Is it to develop the IEP? Is it we've had assessments and now we have to go over them? Is it to consider reevaluation? So this really does let us know what the meeting is all about. The purpose of the meeting, if it's to review your child's current academic, social progress, and to create a design that specifically meets his or her needs. The purpose is not to create the IEP when you get this, but to review the why when you're getting ready to go into the meeting. So before every meeting, think about the goals that you want to have for your child's future. It could be, if I have some elementary or middle school parents on the call, it could be a year goal. It could be we get ready to go into middle school. We get ready to go into high school. What does that look like? Think about what your young person or your child does really well at home. Think about the things that they excel in. How are they doing with their homework? What concerns do you have? Think about behaviors. Think about incentives. And so these are the things we're thinking about before the meeting, and always think about what picture you're going to show. It's very important. We believe it's very important that you start the meeting with a picture of your young. It could be a picture on your phone, because it sets the tone that we're at this table and we are making decisions for your young person. And when your young person is old enough, we invite the young person to attend the meeting with you. The more and more we're learning about the transition process in that self-advocacy, self-determination piece of our young people, knowing that they can do it and giving them the dignity of risk, that can start in some of these IEP meetings. Even, and some of you might be thinking, oh, no, I know I'm ducking sometimes in the hallway because I don't want Matthew to necessarily see me in the building. However, it's good for our young people who can and will to attend the meetings. I'm going to a meeting to talk about, to let them know, to talk about you, how you're doing. Even if they come in, they read a statement, think about what teacher they like the best and what works well for them. They can come say that and then go back to class. But we highly encourage our young people to come to the meetings. You want to confirm who will attend the meeting. If some parents ask, how come it's always so many people at the table? If you have a young person that is receiving speech services, then a speech pathologist has to be at the meeting, because you might have a question about the speech report. If it's a teacher, they might say, well, Johnny will have purposeful play. Well, you're like, well, what's purposeful play? So they need to have someone at the table that can answer questions about the services that they're receiving. So you want to confirm, and from your end, Again, if we're at the team table as equal partners and we have we start with the end in mind, which is our young person, let's not be any surprises. If you know you're bringing in advocate, friend, attorney, then let the school system know. And also, it might help. Sometimes the people in the schoolhouse might not have the answer to the specific question that you have. It might require someone from the central office level to be in attendance. So if you let the school know you're concerned ahead of time, then maybe that person would be able to be at that meeting and we wouldn't have to call for another one, or the school might not know the answers to some of your questions. Sometimes as parents and fans, we have a long list of things that we want to discuss. I always say, even if it's on your phone, prioritize. Have your top 3 things that you're not going to leave that table before you discuss it at the top. Be clear and concise. So that's why it's like before the meeting, we have to think about, the data. I'm seeing these things at home, but it doesn't seem as if it's being shown in school. How can we work together to see how Johnny is doing? We want to make copies if we have our young people in private therapies. We might want to make copies and share the reports with the school. All of these things before the actual IEP meeting. If you're prepared, then you're able to feel confident and empowered walking into the meeting. So when you're getting ready for the meeting, let the school know in advance if you'll need an interpreter. Or if you need to change the meeting day and time. And I know that, this can be hard for some of our IEP chairs. When we think about it, they're in the school, they might have 75 students on their caseload. So sometimes the meetings are set. But parents, as an equal person, equal member of that IEP team, if you can't make the day and time for a meeting, let the school know. Um, I'm married to a retired police officer, and there were times when he always wanted to be there, but he could not. And I understood and recognized the fact that the psychologist is only in the building on Thursdays. However, that did not work for our family. So please talk to the school. You have a right to be there. And so we can come up with something. I know we had one family who met with I think it was a occupational therapist before the meeting, and then waived the right for the occupational therapist not to be there. But let them know in advance, your needs. And if you need to change the meeting day or time, they might suggest doing it a conference call, a virtual end of day, you have a right as a parent to be at that meeting. You want to look over the materials. The 5-day rule, which I think is my next slide. If not, I will talk to you about it. Yeah, okay, so let me go back. We're going to talk about the 5-day rule. You can ask a friend. I always recommend you not attend a meeting by yourself. Again, all meetings, anytime we're discussing our children, it can get emotional. It can get emotional because sometimes you see so much growth at home, and then you get a report and it's like, wow, I'm devastated. Or you just don't know because, again, they're out of our eyesight. So it's good to bring a friend. Once I had to bring my dad, and he was like, I don't know too much about this process, him being a veteran. I was like, I know, Dad, I just need you to be there with me, because sometimes it's good to have another person to bounce ideas off of. And again, you walk in, it could be emotional. So I always recommend not attending meetings by yourself if it's at all possible. In 2019, when President Obama was in office, they enacted a law, and it's the 5-day rule. Schools must provide parents with a copy of the assessment report, data, charts, any draft IEP 5 business days before the scheduled meeting. There are times when at the team, if you don't receive the information ahead of time, they might ask you to waive your right to do that. If you are okay with that, you'll have to sign for it, but you should receive all of the information 5 business days before. And the reason for this is if you have a young person that's receiving speech therapist, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and you get the report and you get a 50-page IEP on the day of the meeting, it's very hard to digest all of that information and still talk about goals and how we're going to make them, help them be successful in school. So getting the documents 5 days ahead of time gives you as a parent time to digest, read through it, ask questions, and have your questions sort of prepared so that we don't have 2-3 hour IEP meetings, that you're coming in prepared and equipped. Some schools might have meetings ahead of time with parents and families, the specialist or the speech therapist, to go over, or they might give them a call to go over the assessments, but by law, 5 days before the meeting. So what do you want to bring to the meeting? If you, whatever way you like to store things. As a former teacher, I have binders. I'm trying to get better with having binders and bins of just some things that I have in the house. But now my children's IEP, because when you go to that meeting, it's draft. It'll say draft when you get it because it's not approved to after you come to the table and talk about it. Well, I think I've had every draft. And remember, starting in infants and toddlers, you might have copies of IFSPs. So I'm finally letting some of those things go. And the boys, again, turned 20 today, but it's a lot of information. Find out what works best for you. Excuse me, 1 second. Find out your best organizational system, whether it's folders, binders, I don't know, whatever works for you. To have assessments and evaluation, old IEPs at least a year if you want to look, okay, where's the progress, the percentage, where were they last April and where are they now? Any writing samples you might want to discuss. Well, you know what, this is what we're seeing at home, and at school, I'm not necessarily seeing this. And one thing that I want to encourage each and every one of you to do is to prepare your parental input. It is really, really important that they capture during the team your thoughts and feelings about the IEP process. If you have created a vision for your young person, we talk about that a lot at transition, then the vision can be included in the parental input. It could be, because remember, this is a law, it's a document that you can say, you know what, these are the requirements that the school system said that they would do and have. So your parental input is extremely important. It could be things like, I noticed over the winter break and spring break, Johnny really regressed in his skills and knowledge. And that could be then data to possibly attending ESY. When Johnny is fully included, when Johnny is fully included with his typical peers, behaviors decrease. In the cafeteria, I am those, so whatever you want to say, you want to think about it and you want to prepare it. This is what this sheet looks like. And it's on every IEP. What is the parental input regarding the student's educational program? Yes, you can put in some placement information here, your concerns, but anything, and it's good to prepare it ahead of time. Sometimes you can prepare it, send it into the team, and it's already, they will have it cut and paste already in the document. If you have it prepared, you can bring it with you, or you can send it to the IEP chair after. But it's really important to prepare your thoughts and opinions about your child's educational program. During the IEP meeting, you want to know, is my child participating? Are they sitting in the back of the class, the front of the class? What are they how is data being taken? get all the answers to the questions that you want. You can consider recording the meeting with team permission, but know that you might record and they might record at the same time. You are a part of the team. It should not be you against them. Believe in yourself. You know your child or your young person best. You are bringing the best of them to this meeting. It's a discussion. Sometimes we can agree to disagree on some things, but just believe in yourself. Refer to the notes that you've taken, watch your emotions, and you can ask for a break if you need it, because again, we have a high expectation of ourselves and our students, and we just want everyone around the table want what's best for our children or young person. After the meeting, you want to thank the team. And I always would say I started the meetings with a picture of my young person. If it was early in the morning, I might take some munchkins, because I want this to be, especially early on. If you're a parent of a child that's in elementary school, you might have 4 or 5 years in the same school building. So we want to work as collaboratively as possible. Stay in contact with the teachers. We want to monitor our child's progress. Ask the teachers what you can do at home to reinforce the skills. Sometimes with some of our young people, it's a matter of just using some of the same terminology that they're using at school. So stop running around. Oh, in school, they use calm body, hands to self. And that's you using that terminology at home is helping, because they're hearing it at home and at school. Prior written notice. Prior written notice, I always think of it as like meeting notes. When a child receives special education services, this is in IDEA as well, so it's in the federal law. It's almost like meeting notes. What happened in the meeting? So this law says the school must notify parents in writings before taking specific action. So at this particular meeting, for example, Johnny is no longer receiving speech services. Then you get a written notice as to why, a description of what the school is proposing or refusing to do, an explanation of why the school is proposing to decrease speech, increase speech, what the action is. So this should be received at least 10 days after the IEP meeting. A description about the evaluation process. So anything that happened at the meeting should be in the prior written notice. One of our fact sheets on our website, which is ppmd.org, and I'll put it in the chat, is a sheet that looks like this. It's, and again, I always think in top 3. Request or concern. So parents, if you, it's like, it's a lot going on. And sometimes it is a lot going on with some of our complex young people. They have every service possible, and then you're throwing in puberty and behaviors. And it's like, wow. So what's the request or concern? Any observable data that you want to point out, notes that you receive from the teachers from school, emails, and then a reason and reply. So this is just a planning sheet that is on our website that might help parents organize their notes. Just, there are timelines for everything. And this is, again, in COMAR. So sometimes we get parent calls when parents are really, really frustrated. And I'm thinking, okay, you asked for a meeting verbally, put it in writing. The school system does have time by law to get the evaluations done. Just because we see a problem November 19th and we want it solved by December 1st, it doesn't, that's not how it works. That's not how it is in the law. The school system actually has 90 days from the date of the written referral to do the assessments, because let's say you call for an IEP meeting. I have a concern, a cognitive concern. So I think that my child is having issues with comprehension. So I want to have an IEP meeting. Okay, so you put that in writing. You have to come into the school. You have to have a meeting for the school to even assess your young person. So that's meeting one. And then they have 90 days because they have to get the psychologist. If the psychologist is not at the school, they have to determine what assessments the young person needs and actually complete the assessments and call you back in. So it's not a quick turnaround process. If you share your concerns with the teacher, maybe the teacher's already had some data or taken notes. But I do want everyone to understand that the school system does, by law, have a timeline that they can complete all of the forms. This is also on our website. This is the Maryland IEP timeline. So parents should receive the documents 5 business days ahead. And then I'm gonna go to every 3 years, the team meets to discuss the reevaluation. But this is the timeline by law. And just some advocating tips before we go into questions. It is okay to ask why. I would always say, please don't edu-speak. I'm in education, my husband is not. We have so many terms and acronyms that it can be overwhelming to a novice just coming in. So please try as much as possible to explain things out without belittling. But it's okay to ask why. Why were the services reduced? Okay, well, show me where it's written. Well, it's a policy. Okay, well, show me where it's written. Help me understand when this behavior is happening. And when we say don't take no for an answer, it's not it's until you understand the why, then it's okay to continue to ask those questions. Document, document, document. If it's not written down, it did not happen. That is one of our internal, we say all the time. I've seen so many times, I asked the teacher, I said that we needed to meet. Okay, did you follow up with an email? And when we say write it, document, document. If you didn't write it down, it did not happen. But I talked to the aide at carpool. No, did you put it in writing? Dear Miss Smith, thank you so much. I enjoyed seeing you in the hallway today. Remember, please be advised that I would like to schedule an IEP meeting to discuss Josh's behavior. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. So please make sure you document, write down everything. Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Per our conversation, this is what I understood to happen.